I don't like YouTube's new live stream feature. Having said that, how's everybody's morning coming along? Like, how's everybody's morning cranking along? I'm vaping on some juice called the Player, which is what is this? Is there still juice in here? Oh, hell's bells. That's the wrong one. What am I doing? I've lost my mind. I swear to God, I'm losing my marbles. You look like you've lost weight. I appreciate it. I feel like I've lost weight. What brand of coffee are you drinking? I'm actually not drinking coffee today. Today I'm drinking Monster Energy drink. I'm doing Monster Energy drink. I told you guys, like I got hooked on that stuff. Is Benny in the chat? Is Benny harassing my thing? There he is. I got hooked on Monster Energy drink when I was in Dallas with Benny and Drake, and I just started like I've been like hammering this stuff down now, and it's absolutely nuts. But anyway, it's 4:36 p.m. where you're at. Wow, sanity is overrated. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I would like to report a crime. Benny has hijacked your stream. Benny has totally hijacked my stream. Benny does that. Benny's like, hey, I'm just gonna show up and steal all the attention because I'm Benny, and that's what I do. It's funny to me. It's kind of funny. Why do I talk about your mom? I don't think I talk about your mom. Have I seen Straight Outta Compton? No, I have not seen Straight Outta Compton. I thought about going to see it, but I was never really a big fan of like the underground, hip hop movement in the 1990s. Really, I didn't even listen to hip hop back then. I was just kind of I was listening to like pop culture stuff. Like I was listening to baby baby, why don't we just stay together? Like I was listening to that, like, and I was really, really psyched about it. Greetings from Australia. What's up? All right. Why are you guys going to talk about MLP FIM comics? No idea what that is, but no, I have no idea what that is. Look, God, man, Benny is so hijacking my live stream. Do you play guitar? If so, are you any good? No. The guitar is strictly just to get chicks, and it actually works. So, any of you guys who are curious about how to pick up the ladies, just tell them you have a guitar, and then just make some sounds. Like, just kind of strum on it and make some sounds, and then that's it. And I'm 100% serious. Like, I'm not joking with you guys. It works. Like, it's weird. What are you vaping today? I got some sherbet juice. I'm vaping the Player. What do you think of We Are Robin? I think We Are Robin is a cool concept. I was a little hesitant about it. I was a little skeptical. Initially, I didn't know how I felt about a series that was based strictly around Robin, and I read like issue number 1. It wasn't really enough to get me into what in the hell, Benny.
How are you doing?
Hello, Benny. I'm doing pretty good. Why are you calling me?
Because I'm bored.
Dude, I'm working on a script for DCU and the New 52, man. Like, it's weird. And then I just finished Secret Wars Part 5. I'm so psyched. What
are you gonna say about DCU? They started over again.
Basically, yeah. Like it's like they had Crisis on Infinite Earths because their entire continuity was a mess, and then they and then they ran into the same problem 30 years later with the New 52, and they said, you know what, we're just gonna go back and do our thing again. So. Anyway, why are you calling me in the middle of my live stream?
I'm bored. I'm trying to do a Supergirl video about the TV show, and I'm like,
Yeah, well, have fun with that, because the TV show's boring.
It's got one episode. You cannot say that.
Yes, I can, because I can say from the one episode that I saw that I
We're
think it's
covering
boring.
everything on CTV, so it's like I've also got to cover Once Upon a Time. That one I'm not looking forward to.
Yeah, have fun with that. I'm doing a video on Rob Explains about what would happen if a planet could crash into us.
What happened to Rob Explains? I wasn't going to call you out for it on the stream, but since you brought it up.
Dude, I've been focusing on my channel for the last 3 weeks. Rob Explains is a secondary thing that gets done occasionally.
Technically your channel?
Yeah, but like Comics Explained is more important because that's my source of income. That one's more important than Rob Explains.
No, it's not. It's not.
Yeah. Damn,
they want you to talk about We Are Robin. Here, I'll help you out. You help me out that time. I'll help you out until I get bored again and move on.
I've read issue number 1 of your. I already answered that question. Somebody asked me about it. I think it's a cool concept of having like more than one Robin, like a bunch of Robins. But I don't know. I mean, Why Ben has a sexy voice? Oh, you. They're talking about your sexy voice.
Oh, it's because I'm whispering right now. This is my sexy voice. I also use this as my Batman voice in the videos.
Is Fantastic Four worse than Batman and Robin? Yes, it is 100 times worse. Think of
See,
Batman and
Batman and
Robin.
Robin had camp to it. That's what made it good.
Yeah, it was designed to be bad. Why are you talking so quiet?
Because my wife's sleeping at 7 a.m. here.
Oh yeah, that's true. Did you wake up especially for my live stream? I feel so special.
Actually, I did. My phone pinged on your first one that's dead.
Yeah, I streamed that one by accident. I didn't mean to. I was
It
like,
woke
oops.
me up, and I was like, "Oh, go bother Rob."
Yeah, I was like, oh, I didn't mean to do that, and but it's whatever. Will you review the sequel for Fantastic Four 2017 if it ever comes out? No. Well, I'll
You're
review it
just not gonna do it.
if it'll like get me a bunch of views where I just rail on it, because I can guarantee you it's gonna suck. It's not gonna be good. Like it's
Dude, you
gonna
had
be
the smartest idea I've ever seen because we were all like, "What are we gonna do for Fantastic Four?" And you're like, "I'll do top 5 things that made it suck."
yeah, top 5 things that made it suck. What do you think of Secret Wars #5? I thought it was kind of superfluous to overall story. Molecule Man covered in New Avengers. Dude, Secret Wars #5 is the most important story. It's the most important part of Secret Wars so far. They establish so many things. They talk about how the Beyonders got destroyed. They basically say that Doctor Doom. See, here's my thought for all you guys in the chat. I don't think that these realities were actual realities when Doctor Doom grabbed them. I think he made them. And I think he made them when he was going around killing all the Molecule Men from the alternate realities, and he was basically doing it out of memory. Like that's my thought, because there's a point in the comic when the Future Foundation is like everything in existence on Battleworld is composed of this energy, which is like the Beyonder energy. Like we're made of it. Everything's made of it. And so if they're made of Beyonder energy, it would make sense that they were basically made by Doctor Doom. I don't know. But the other cool thing, too, is that the Phoenix Force is dead. Like, Scott Summers is dead, so that means the Phoenix Force needs a new host. And so my question is, are we going to see, like, a Phoenix-powered Franklin Richards at the end of Secret Wars? I think we will, and I think it's going to be awesome. I did not go to D23. I wish I had, though, because they leaked the Civil War footage there, and I can't wait until it comes out. Dude, we really should have gone.
Honestly, you and I just pretty much look for any reason to fly around the states.
And pretty much. Black Widow, a double agent for Civil War. I guess, but that'd be kind of disappointing.
I want to ask you something about, because you said Secret Wars 5, you feel is probably one of the best ones.
Uh-huh.
Do you not? Okay, in my opinion, while it's good for anyone who hasn't been reading Avengers and stuff, it's kind of pointless for people like you and me who have been reading Avengers and stuff, because it was a lot of rehash.
Yeah, but if you look past that, there's a lot of important stuff too. Like we know
Well,
that.
it reveals a couple things. Yeah, I'll give you that.
Well, like we know Franklin Richards will fight Doom at the end of the series. We know that like at the end of Secret Wars. I mean, we know how it was. Like we didn't know, like up until this point, we didn't know what happened that led to Doom and Strange. And well, that was a kicker. Apparently, Doom wasn't there. Doctor Strange wasn't there. And only Molecule Man Owen Reese was there. Not only that, if you look at what Molecule Man Owen Reese was saying, Hickman is, I don't know if he's actually going to do it or not, or if Marvel's going to do it, but he's basically setting the stage for Molecule Man being the new Galactus. So,
Yeah,
I don't
no,
know.
do you find it weird that Marvel has recently been putting a lot of focus on people that no one care about? The Orb, Molecule Man.
No, Molecule Man was important for the story, and that makes sense to me. But, I mean, he's not... I mean, this is the first time we've seen him since Secret War started, and we're 3 issues away from the series ending. So I don't think they're focusing on him, on people that don't matter. But the Orb, yeah, I get that. But I think the reason why they added the Orb in is because I think they knew what they wanted to do with Secret Wars. They were just kind of putting stuff in until they got there. They were just like, let's just make stories until we get there, until they had it worked out.
Talia Don or Diane, I probably mispronounced it, wants to know, doesn't care about what you think about Civil War. They would like to know what you think about Finding Dory.
I haven't seen. Is Finding Dory out yet?
No, they previewed it also
okay.
over there, along with the new Star Wars stuff.
I am so gonna go see Finding Dory.
Hey
'Cause
Rob, why
Finding
is
Nemo
Wakanda
was amazing.
technically advanced? That's your next question. Just go with the Finding Dory first. Then.
I am so gonna go check out because Finding Nemo was amazing. Like I think Finding Dory would be really cool.
You gotta fly here. We'll see it here, and then I'll fly to you for one, and I'll see Kentucky finally.
Dude, Kentucky sucks. Like you don't want to fly out here. This place sucks.
Drake came here for one day and said he's moving here, like officially, like he's legitimately trying to find a house.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Dude. I gotta come out there and visit. Well, I do want to come out there and visit for your 24-hour live stream. Okay, so
Yeah.
what was the other question?
Why do you think Wakanda is so technologically advanced?
Because of vibranium. Like they established that in the early stories of Marvel Comics, where they said that because of the fact that vibranium is like the rarest source on Earth, and Wakanda owns the entire store of it, that they use it, they sell it for technology, or I guess for money, whatever the case may be. But because of the fact that Black Panther is inherently intelligent too, like he's like the fourth smartest person or second smartest person on the planet or something like that. Like it's weird. He's in the top five, but
Okay.
I don't know.
What do you think about Incredibles 2 being announced?
Uh, I wasn't a big fan of the first Incredibles.
What?
Yeah, I
That's it,
know.
everyone. Burn his channel down.
I know. But I wasn't a big fan of the first Incredibles.
Here's a good one for you because you do a lot more of this live stream stuff than I do. Any advice for starting a podcast?
Ooh, have Benny's voice for one, because your voice sounds amazing. But no, I don't. I mean, advice for starting a podcast. I mean, I just get on here and just talk to people. So I think it's tougher to do a podcast than it is to do like a live stream Q&A. Now, do they mean podcast, or do they mean like YouTube channel podcast?
They just said how to start a podcast. They didn't specify.
I mean, pick a topic that you like and see if you can talk about it for an hour, and if you can, upload it.
We know a few people trying that. Some of them work, some of them don't.
Some of them don't.
Are you reading the new Civil War?
No. I had no interest in reading the new Civil War. And,
It's actually really good. I'm liking it a lot.
well, see, the problem that I have is I mean, I read the what if story on Civil War. What if Civil War never ended? I read the what if story. What if the roles were reversed? I read, of course, the main Civil War. Okay, what do you like about this current Civil War? Here's a question for you.
I like the concept of the fight continuing, but being in a totally separate world. So we have a divided U.S. by them. Like the fight, because what that shows is the fight escalated to a point where they've divided everything like that, and that shows that could have happened if Captain America didn't step down.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really sure how I
Don't
feel
like them
about it.
turning Spider-Man into Falcon though.
Oh, they turned Spider-Man into Falcon?
Yeah, basically they gave him the Falcon wings and everything, and he's Captain America's right-hand man. And
That sucks.
what is your opinion on Blue's Clues?
Oh, Blue's Clues. Yes. Blue's Clues is awesome.
Dude in the corner is jacking it.
Yep.
Who do you have in your corner of your house, Rob?
A dude who's jacking it.
Do you think Black Panther could be the MCU version of Reed Richards in being the smartest man in the world?
Yes, and I think that's explicitly why he was introduced. Because I don't. Let me tell you something. Fantastic Four was terrible, but Fox ain't giving those rights back. If Fox was going to make a movie like that, there's no way they're going to give the rights back. So, the Fantastic Four is pretty much gone from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, unless something happens, some miracle, unless Jesus comes down and persuades Fox to give the rights back to Marvel. Like this is never going to happen. And so, introducing Black Panther in as the smartest person on Earth basically puts him in the role of Reed Richards. And so it makes sense to me.
Okay. Which non-comic book characters do you think would work perfect for comic books, DC or Marvel?
Which non-comic book characters? Which non-comic book characters would work best for DC or Marvel? Sherlock Holmes.
I'm not stealing a Rob from you guys. I'm asking your
I saw
questions.
that. I saw that.
I'll go if you want. You can just
No,
let
you're
Rob fend for
fine.
himself.
You're fine. You're fine. No, I think Sherlock Holmes would be an awesome character to add in, only because it'd be interesting to see how a person that's super smart, and it's like a private investigator, would function in a world of superheroes. Like Sherlock Holmes, who has no superpowers, who is just really good at deducing facts. I mean, he's just a really good investigator. He's not like the smartest man ever. Like how he would function in trying to track down somebody that can make themselves invisible or something like that. Like I think it'd be a really cool story.
Okay. Someone said Yogi Bear. What are you giggling about?
No, I'm not. I'm trying to saturate the
Because I'm
Wikipedia.
watching the video still, so it's crazy delayed. So
Yeah.
that's noise mashed up to you laughing. I was like, what?
That's a weird laugh.
That's what I was like. Are you like just turned into Wheezy now? Play something guitar. I know you say no to that. So a couple people have asked how what's going on with the gym. How's it working out for you?
Yeah, it's going along fine. I switched.
That's it.
I mean, I switched over. Like I was doing a workout. Like I was doing a four movement workout where it was Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays because I haven't done it for like 2 months. It was Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. It was arms, back, curls, and then anyway on Tuesdays and Thursdays it was it was upper body and lower body more or less, and it was 6 days a week. And then I transitioned off that, and I actually stole like the Rock's workout for Hercules, and I do that 5 days a week, and it's fucking tough. Like I do one of the workouts that I do is a flatbed cable pull. So like I literally just like pull the cables into my chest. It's almost like doing dumbbell flies, except you're using cables, and it hurts. It's so sore.
Yeah, no, I started doing some crazier shit, like just do it, increasing a lot of the weight, and doing a lot of like myself. Yeah, for the record, they have said it, and I do agree. You are looking really good.
Yay! Thank you, Benny. I appreciate it, man.
So you've gotten a couple questions about Metal Gear Solid. Are you ever considering explaining video games?
Never really gave it too much thought before, but I love the Metal Gear Solid series, so
That'd be fun to hear you do it. I tried it 2 years ago. I'm not trying to promote myself at all because it's horrendous. Like it's horrible. Like if you ever want to see like if you go back to Rob's earliest videos, like he doesn't have scrolling pictures and stuff. If you want to see my earliest videos, how come Comic Historian launched with like a plan in place? It's because if you go look at my old Metal Gear Solid, it's horrible.
damn. Well, that's interesting.
like it's like an anti-plug. Don't go look for it.
Don't go look for it. Well, you know they're gonna go look for it now.
Well, it's not too hard to find. If you look up Metal Gear Solid story, it comes up, and that's the annoying part because all I get is people trashing on it, and I'm like, it's 3 years old. Anyway, that's me. But back to you.
This episode of Comics and Coffee is brought to you by Comic Historian TV.
Yeah.
Make sure you check out Comic Historian TV.
This episode is brought to you by a three-year-old series that he did on his gaming channel.
Man.
How do you feel about egg salad? That sounds like a fun one.
Man, I can take egg salad the way I can take my friend Dustin. Small doses. Like, moments at a time. Dude, Dustin's a cool guy, but the problem is this. I'll go over to a friend's house, and Dustin will be there. Or we'll go out and we'll get a beer or something like that.
Right.
And Dustin will say, what's your take on this particular subject? And no matter what answer I give him, he takes the opposite stance. And then the argument never ends. Like it'll be 2 hours later, he'll be like, by the way, one thing I wanted to remind you of, and it'll go on with the damn argument again, and it's...
Oh, he's one of those people, like, the argument can't die until you say, okay, you win, go away.
Yeah, exactly. But I've known him since high school, so, I can't hate on him.
Yeah, no, I hate people like that. Rob. Rob will call me up at weird hours just to argue because he finds it funny. It's just...
What are you talking about?
You're
making stuff up now.
I never make stuff up. I'm always true. All right.
Oh, yeah, of course.
What non-comic related YouTube channels do you watch? That's a good one.
Ooh, that is a good one.
For the record, guys, I'm trying to avoid the questions that I know I've seen in here before because I do watch his comics and coffee thing.
The Loyal Patriot has... Let me tell you something. For those of you guys who think my voice is amazing, you guys need to check out The Loyal Patriot. He's got the best voice on the planet. It's like deep and smooth. It's amazing. The Mark of J, who has a Call of Duty channel. Only One Gamer does Minecraft. C. Nanners, I watch him. Hutch, I watch occasionally. Like a lot of it's old Call of Duty gamers that have transitioned their channels over. I used to watch a Moody Swede back in the day, but he lost his mind and stopped.
He lost his mind.
Oh,
God,
it's like...
He lost his mind.
Yeah, he lost his he lost his mind. Yeah, I mean, it's a handful, stuff like that. Tyrone Magnus, he has really good reaction videos. Yeah, just stuff like that.
All right. No, not asking any of that. I'm sure you're seeing the same ones I am.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I thought I had a blacklist on, but I guess maybe I don't.
Yeah,
I don't know
where that one came from. Just like a weird influx.
Yeah, it's...
What is your favorite coffee?
Ooh.
Because you do drink coffee, don't you? Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I drink coffee. It's called Comics and... It's actually... It's a live stream called Comics and Coffee that I've had coffee on maybe 4 times.
Well, it's like Dodger does that whole coffee time, and I think mostly she drinks tea.
Yeah, like it's weird. My favorite coffee is the House Blend from Starbucks. It's pretty damn good.
That is a good one. Mm-hmm. What the... A WTF live YouTube? Yeah, it's new 3 years ago.
Live YouTube? What's going on? It's weird.
You don't know One Punch Man, do you?
No.
He's a manga guy. I'm just trying to get into that myself. I think Rob Rant, because you got like just a lot of weird questions.
I mean, it's how do I feel about weed? All right, here you go, guys. Here's my stance on topics like that. I recognize there's an inherent danger with doing things that cause a mental impairment, but I also recognize that has to be balanced with the fact that people should be able to make their own choices and should be able to decide what they do and don't put into their own bodies. Having said that, treat it like alcohol. We don't arrest people for drinking alcohol, but we arrest people for driving under the intoxication of alcohol. We arrest them for being intoxicated by alcohol when they're out in public. Treat it that way. Regulate it. Give people the right to decide what they want to put in their bodies. Just make sure they don't become a danger to society. That's my stance on things like that. So, what in the hell? Oh, I got an email. All right. Since Benny's apparently vacated, Comic Historian explained. You must do a video. We must do a video. Where'd Benny go? Benny, are you even there? Benny. All right, apparently Benny's gone. Let's see. If you were to have a lantern ring, which one would you have? Even though, let's scroll back up. Even though the rings would have to come to you. Oh, okay. If I could have a lantern ring, which one would I pick? See, I'm inclined to say green, because green is the most...
Orange.
Huh?
Go orange.
I don't want to have a lantern ring of greed.
No, but see, if you get control of it, like Larfleeze has for the most part, you get to control an entire army.
Yeah, and I guess I'm the only one that can have that ring.
Yeah.
No.
And for the record, yeah, I stepped out for a second to pee. I know how long you ran for.
Oh, okay. I was like, where'd Benny go? You were just gone. And I was like, okay.
Because you were going on, and I'm trying not to like interrupt and like take over your stream. I'm trying to help you.
No, yeah, it's not a problem. I would say I'd probably go. I would go with the Green Lantern ring because I think it's the most balanced. I mean, it's one where you don't like all you need is willpower. Like you don't need like an external force to allow you to use your ring. It's weird.
Honestly, I would go with fear.
Of course you would.
Well, no, because
be terrified of me.
No, but no. The reason is they've proven in multiple comics that you don't have to be evil to have the yellow ring, and then you don't have any of the constraints that come along with the green ring, but you get all the powers of a green ring.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's not like putting on a red one where it turns you into like an evil guy, or the orange one has the side effect of greed. Yellow's entirely up to you.
See, I like the idea of the Red Lantern Corps and like the red ring. It's just I don't want to die if I take it off. So
you don't want to be spewing blood.
I don't want to be spewing blood that eats people's skin. Like I don't want to do that. That would.
Personally, red's my favorite too, but I'm in the exact same boat. I'm like I don't want this to be the end of me.
People are asking if you have washed your hands.
Yes, I washed my. What the?
He's an ex-military guy. Of course, he washed his hands.
Actually, when I was a ranger for the first 5 years, but the last 4 to 5 years, I was preventive medicine. So I literally taught classes on how to wash your hands because nobody knows how to wash their hands.
Really? Like you put them under water and then you put soap on them?
Yeah. I'd have to give a 30-minute class on how that happens.
And then you like rub your hands together. Well, I mean, okay, if you need to be taught on how to wash your hands, you got bigger problems going on.
Why do you think there's a lot of dumb people in the army? I mean, I was in the army, dude. There's a lot of dumb people in the army.
Oh my god. What if Lobo got a lantern? Did Lobo ever get a lantern ring?
Funny, I'm going to hijack your stream for 1 second to tell you about the dumbest guy I ever met in the military. Okay, So they have this. It's the test you take to get in. It goes from 0 to 100. It's kind of like an SAT to see where you can qualify in. Personally, myself, I got a 91 on it. I didn't get a full 100. I'm not gonna fake it. But I met a guy because in order to become a Marine, you have to go through infantry training first. So I went through infantry training, and one of the guys in there was so proud that he got a 21. Like he beat out his brothers and his sisters, and he totally topped everyone. And he was walking around the bay being like, "I got 21." He was from deep Louisiana, and apparently, I don't know if he was lying or not, but he used like push boats to get to the main road so he can go to school.
Wow.
And he would just tell the most like, and at first you would think it's a joke, but he would tell stories that no normal human being would ever tell. Like,
wow. Jesus. What happened after House of M and where can you read it? After House of M came Decimation, and Decimation was the reason why the mutants were not involved in Civil War. After that, everything just kind of merges into Secret Invasion. That's the difference, guys. For those of you who are curious, and I'm not sure why you would be reading it at this point, but for those of you who are curious, you had the mutants and you had you had the X-Men and you had the Avengers and so on. They kind of existed as a cohesive unit that would occasionally cross over up until you got to the House of M. Then they split off. The Avengers did Civil War, the mutants did Decimation, and they merged back in together again with Secret Invasion. That's kind of how that weird fork comes in. That's how that circle gets squared, or whatever that phrase is. I have no idea what that phrase is.
I got
So,
one for you that came up, and I don't know if you can do it because I do know you watch one, but I don't know if you watch the other. Can you compare and contrast Star Wars and Star Trek?
oh, dude, I watch them both religiously.
Same here.
Compare and contrast Star Wars and Star Trek. Well, see, this is a kicker because a lot of people talk about how amazing Star Trek was. Star Trek was basically a dystopian, not really dystopian, but it was a futuristic, like Marxist, militaristic society. Like it was a society where people existed for the greater good, but you still had some kind of a government. So I guess maybe it had vanguard attributes, but it was basically like a highly militaristic society that just happened to be explorers. Like that's basically the way it was. Star Wars is amazing. So here's a question I would ask: were the Sith wrong in Star Wars? They brought peace to the galaxy. Were they
I
really
actually
that
think the
bad?
Sith were right.
Yeah,
I,
I think
I,
the Sith
I
were right too.
the problem I have with the Star Wars myself, I want to know if you agree on this or not, but I feel like the Jedi and the Sith are too far to both extremes. It's like playing a video game and they give you that moral choice of Renegade Shepherd or Good Shepherd, and you're either going to like sacrifice your life for a cup of coffee or you're going to burn down an orphanage. Like they're two extremes.
Well, yeah, that was a problem. Like that was a funny. That's why if you, it sucks that Disney got rid of the expanded universe. But the expanded universe had a lot of really cool scenarios where you would have people that would pop up. Like people say, for example, the problem with the Jedi. The reason why the Jedi Civil War, not the Jedi Civil War, the hyperspace war happened was because the Jedi were just complacent. Like the Jedi kind of cast the Sith out. They cast out like Jedi that fell to the dark side. They cast them out rather than trying to rehabilitate them, rather than trying to figure out why they left. They just simply said, "Get out of here." And then those dark Jedi joined the actual race of the Sith, and thus the Sith were born. And so it's a really cool concept once you get into all those different things. But if you're talking about just like the basic interest that I have in them, I would say that I think that Star Wars is a lot more entertaining than Star Trek. Star Trek's awesome, I think it has some cool attributes, but I think that when you look at the entire expanded universe of Star Wars, it's far more immersive than Star Trek. But.
See, I will because I've read a lot of the extra stuff. I will disagree with you on that a little bit. Star Trek, but in the flip side, I feel like Star Trek, because of their rules, regulations, and the Federation, is a little more restricted than what Star Wars could do. Because Star Wars can just do whatever the hell they want in space
Yeah,
and just make it up,
yeah, pretty much.
while everything for Star Trek has to conform to what's already there.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty wild. Coffee is amazing. It deserves absolute devotion. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. I agree. Thoughts on Jim Gordon Batman? I think Jim Gordon Batman, and we need to do a video about that. I think Jim Gordon
We should
Batman
do a
is.
collab on that. We should both be on it.
I think Jim Gordon Batman is one of the best things to ever happen to the Batman story, and here's why, guys. Bruce Wayne is an icon of the Batman series. I mean, he is Batman. He's been Batman since he was first introduced to Detective Comics issue number whatever in 1940. The problem with Bruce Wayne is this: there's nothing he can't do. Like, no matter what scenario Bruce Wayne is thrown into, he always finds some way to figure it out. With Jim Gordon, he's literally flying by the seat of his pants. Like, he's just in a Batman suit and he's just kind of doing what he can and hoping it works out and really just kind of taking things as they go. He doesn't have the intellect, he doesn't have the resources, he doesn't have the skill set of Batman. I mean, he doesn't have the backing of billions of dollars and the super intellect and all the technology that comes with it and the ability to manipulate stuff and knowing how these villains function on a personal level because he hasn't been fighting them day in and day out for decades and decades. Bruce Wayne has. And so I think that to take a character and just interject him into that scenario and say, suddenly you're Batman, is a cool concept. And reading the stories, that comes out, and it is amazing watching it all go down. Like, I really love it. So, anyway.
I actually heard a really good point on that. Actually, I think it was Movie Bob that did it on one of his Screw Tech shows, but he made a video explaining that Bruce Wayne's just a jerk now. Because well, in order to make him function with the rest of the Justice League, they've increased his fortune to points where he's not just a guy with a large trust fund, he can literally buy the world. So the question becomes, why is he getting into a bat suit and spending money on all this stuff to go beat up on thugs when at his level of money he should know that if you just create jobs and fix up the streets themselves, then you'll actually eliminate crime in that manner, and why isn't he spending his money in that way? what it comes down to is he's just a rich boy who wants to go beat up on poor people.
That is a really good point. Like that's a real like use your money to decrease crime. Don't beat up criminals.
Exactly, and what's proven a lot of times in Batman is that the criminals are just poor people trying to get by because they have no money, and this is the only thing they can do. And Bruce Wayne's jumping in there and punching them with these like insanely high tech gadgets. Like,
Oh my God. What's your opinion on Ben Affleck directing the next Batman trilogy? I'm actually really hyped, guys. And this is, I think, is a source of contention because people look at Ben Affleck and they look at one or two stories or one or two movies and they say, oh my God, Ben Affleck's going to suck. And I disagree, because if you look at Ben Affleck from the time he first showed up in Hollywood up until now, he's done nothing but got better. Like he's done nothing. I have the script already, and Secret Wars #5 will hopefully be up later on today or maybe tomorrow. But he's done nothing but get better over the years with his acting and with his directing. Now, having said that, he's got the entire catalog of Batman films to work with. I mean, the problem was when Michael Keaton first showed up, there really were no Batman films. When you had George Clooney, he was during the era where Batman films were designed to be campy. They weren't designed to be taken seriously. And so when you look at things now, you've got Christopher Nolan's Batman. You've got, the entire Michael Keaton Batman Returns. You've got, Batman and Robin. You've got all kinds of stuff for him to look at. You've got all the comics and everything. And with this age, with this era being what it is, in terms of more serious comic book characters, in terms of sometimes darker comic book characters, there's a market for creating a realistic, dark, and gritty Bruce Wayne. And I think that Ben Affleck can pull that off. But it depends. I mean, this movie, Batman vs. Superman, will set the stage for the kind of Batman that we'll see in Ben Affleck's films. And so if he comes out and he's just kind of silly, no one's going to take it seriously. But if he comes out and he is hardcore, if he comes out and he's basically Bruce Wayne from The Dark Knight Returns, or even The New 52 to a degree, like, it'll be a very promising trilogy of films. At least I'll be excited to go see him. So we'll see what's up.
I'm still here, by the way. I am still trying to do my Supergirl thing while going through this.
Are you serious? Are you going through Supergirl?
I'm just putting up a like what do we know about it? Like what characters have been announced and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
What do you feel about? How do you feel about? You don't watch Doctor Who, do you?
No, I don't watch Doctor Who.
Okay, someone asked how you feel about Peter Capaldi. Now they're all talking about Doctor Who. That's why
I've never watched Doctor Who.
Nova Corps versus the Green Lantern Corps. That's a good versus.
Green Lantern Corps, hands down. Like there's no contesting there. Okay, and here's the reason why, guys. There's no debate there, and here's the reason why. The Nova Corps has the ability to manipulate the Nova Force, but the Nova Force has its limits. It's just a huge source of energy. The problem here is they can't manipulate it for any effect. They can just kind of disperse concussive blasts of energy and stuff like that. The Green Lantern Corps can use their rings to create anything. I mean, anything their minds can imagine. And really, I mean, all you would really need is just like an army of oh God, man. I keep wanting to think Ray Palmer, but it's not Ray Palmer. Hell's bells. He was Ion. He was, oh, Benny, help me out here.
If it's not, what do you mean? What are you talking
about? The most imaginative Green Lantern. What was his name?
Kyle Rayner?
Kyle Rayner, yes, Kyle Rayner.
Okay.
I kept thinking Ray Palmer. Like I had Ray Palmer's name stuck in my head. I was about to
say, if you're asking me to remember the names of Green Lanterns that aren't the four Earthlings, you're on your own.
Yeah, no, yeah, okay. But no. So all you would need is like an army of him. But no, I would say that at the end of the day, it would come down like the Green Lanterns could probably take it. I mean, yeah, that's a car alarm going off. Like there's a car alarm going off in the background outside in the apartment complex. It's a pain. Who's your favorite Robin? Oh God, my favorite Robin's Dick Grayson, and here's why. Dick Grayson is a great legacy character. I think Damian Wayne's more dynamic, and I think Damian Wayne is more intriguing on a personal level because he's literally a kid. Like Damian Wayne is a really great character. Here's why Damian Wayne's a great character. I don't think he's better than Dick Grayson, but here's why he's a great character. Damian Wayne is a kid that is simultaneously trying to struggle with the idea that Bruce Wayne was never in his life, trying to accept Bruce Wayne as a father figure, but at the same time sees Bruce Wayne through the eyes that he was taught to see him in by his mom. In the sense that he's just like, I hate Bruce Wayne. You know, I hate what he stands for. I'm all down for killing people, so on, because Bruce Wayne is the antithesis to Damian Wayne. Damian Wayne and Bruce Wayne have similar ideas, but Damian Wayne's willing to kill where Bruce Wayne's not. And so I think that for Damian to struggle with all those things at the same time, being such a dark kid who in truth, you know, shouldn't have that kind of a mindset, you know, to effectively been raised as an assassin, I think makes for him being more dynamic. Having said that, Dick Grayson, I think, is more important because without Dick Grayson, there never would have been a Damian in the first place, you know, or Robin or anything like that. And I think that Dick Grayson set the standard for superheroes and so on and so forth. And when I decide, you know, what characters I prefer, I usually go by legacy. What did they do for the industry? And I think Dick Grayson did more for the comic book industry than any other Robin that's ever been in existence. So,
But don't you like Dick Grayson moving on to become Nightwing and stuff?
oh yeah, it's cool. I'm just saying, in terms of all the people who have played
And now
Robin,
James Bond.
yeah, and James Bond, Nocturnal Wish. What's up? Somebody say wave if you see this. James Bond versus Jason Bourne. Jason Bourne, yes, Jason Bourne, any day of the week.
You think Uncle Ben could defeat Thanos?
No, no, like not by a long shot.
Would you see a Harley Quinn TV series?
Oh yeah, like a Harley Quinn solo series, definitely. I'd be excited to see that. I mean, I think it depends on who's playing it, but I'd be pretty excited to see that. What monitor do I use? I use an Asus 27-inch monitor. It's pretty badass.
It's pretty glowy too. If you ever see him at night, it just glows. Like
It just
it almost gives him a suntan, but you'd never tell. So.
Yeah, it takes me 8 hours to sunburn, believe it or not. Like it's weird. How strong is Martian Manhunter? I would argue that Martian Manhunter, and Benny can probably argue better than I can, but I would argue that Martian Manhunter is on par, if not stronger than Superman.
I don't know him that well, but I know that every time he's been brought up, that's the claim. But it seems like every time he's like, "I'm stronger than Superman," and then Superman pummels him. So,
I mean, he can make himself intangible. So
yeah, and that's the big weakness, and that the shape shifting is another big one.
yeah, like that's my question of what use is your ability to pull planets if you can't hit the guy that you're fighting? So, I don't know. Thank you for answering my question, Rob. Cheers. It always amazes me. Like this is a Q&A, and people are like, "Rob answered my question." Well, of course I did. It's a Q&A.
It's like the people that when I go respond to comments, my favorite is when someone, because if you're a troll, sometimes you'll get me a little riled up, and I'll just give you the reason why I did something. I don't ever fight back. I just give my reasons.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, if someone puts a legit criticism, I will respond to it. And it's funny because if I respond to it, they run away. They delete the comment.
What should be the next Marvel property to enter the MCU? The Sentry, Robert Reynolds. Like hands, yes,
They'll
hands
never
down.
do that because then they're just gonna be like, "You made Superman."
No, it just need. Well, yeah, I get that people will say that, but it needs to be like, or just do it in Netflix. Just do like a
They'll
10.
just say they took Superman because not enough people know who Sentry is for them for it to stand off as this is his own character. He's not a Superman clone.
Yeah, I know, but this is the world according to Rob. So I would say definitely the Sentry. Robert Reynolds.
We're on Rob's channel. I'm not going to dispute that.
But if we had to pick a mainstream popular character, Miles Morales. Like Miles Morales needs to enter the Marvel, and it's high time. And I think that became really prevalent when Kevin Feige, well, at least when it became public knowledge that Marvel was getting the rights to Spider-Man, or not really getting the rights. Marvel was working with Sony on Spider-Man, and they were talking about rebooting it. And people were saying like, we need Miles Morales. And I think Kevin Feige and them, they made the right call in saying, Peter Parker, if you're going to introduce Spider-Man to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you got to go with a familiar face, and you got to introduce Peter Parker. Having said that, I would not object to seeing a Miles Morales post Infinity War. You know, I wouldn't mind seeing that. I think it's time to get Miles Morales into the mainstream in terms of the movies, because he's already doing well in the comics. People love him in the comics, you know, and so I think it's time to see him move forward a little bit.
But I think the problem with Miles Morales is that they're scared. The backlash they got when they first introduced him, it took almost like 3 years for him to be actually accepted.
Yeah, but in this day and age, I think it was hardcore comic book fans that were freaking out because they killed
they're
Peter
always the ones
Parker.
that freak out.
Well, yeah, they are always the one that freak out, but they killed Peter Parker, which it makes sense. We don't need two versions of Peter Parker. Like you got Peter Parker, and we've had him for the last. It was like, well, I want both. Well, you know, you can't have both. So I think it was a good idea to kill him off and replace him with Miles Morales. And I think that was most of the backlash. Is fans were mad because Peter Parker was dead. But no, I think right now fans are ready to see it. I think the general public wouldn't oppose it. You know, I mean, I think it'd be fine to go with
Well,
Miles Morales.
I do agree with you. I think people are becoming more accepting of things getting changed in the movies. But I mean, they're still very much against things changing in the comics. Female Thor is the point of that.
Yeah. Oh my God, that
They
backlash
released
still
that as a
amazes me.
hardcover, by the way.
Oh, did they?
Uh-huh.
It
Totally put it
amazes.
in my collection.
Yeah, it amazes me how people got so bent out of shape over that.
Yeah.
Would you want to play in the MCU or the DCU? You mean like which one would I choose to exist in? If I had to choose between existing in the DCU or the MCU, I would choose the DCU. Like I would choose to exist in the DC cinematic universe because I think it is. I think characters like Batman and Superman are more intriguing than a lot of characters in Marvel's lineup. But Marvel's more established; they have more going on. I don't know.
I wouldn't use the term established, but you are right. They do have more going on. It's always been the debate of this, Rob. It's DC is a world of gods, like that is people above the normal man, while Marvel's characters are all trying to be the normal man.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that's a good call. I don't know. What's your favorite form of transport? Driving? I mean, I drive everywhere I go.
You should bike. It's healthier.
Yeah, well, I mean, I do my cardio at the gym.
I bike and skateboard everywhere like a kid.
Well, that's cool, Benny. That's cool. Awesome for
I
you.
skated up to the comic book shop, and the guy in there, he was like, "Really, really, you're gonna skateboard over here?" Say, "How old are you?" Like, that doesn't matter. Like,
Benny and Rob, what's your definition of a superhero? Ooh, that's a good question.
someone who is selfless.
That's
So you don't need powers or anything. In my opinion, it's someone who's willing to sacrifice himself for the greater good.
I'd say it's somebody that's willing to kill people. So the Punisher is a. I'm messing
You just
around.
wanted to say the Punisher.
I just wanted to say the Punisher. I just wanted an excuse to say the Punisher. What makes a good superhero? Well, I mean, of course, I think having abilities is what makes somebody a superhero. I mean, I think that's like a definitive factor. A definitive difference between like the Punisher and say Captain America. Having said that,
Are you done with that? I got a question for you
okay.
off the video.
I think that knowing the difference when to run away and like knowing the difference like when to fight is an important attribute because I think that one of the bigger issues that a lot of heroes have and one of the things that kind of drives me nuts sometimes is they'll just go headlong into a conflict and just keep on fighting until they win. And as Jack Sparrow once said, we have to fight in order to run away. I'd die in the DCU? No, I wouldn't. I would not die in the DCU.
I can see you. I can see you dying, but then you get revived 9 times, and you come back as the Red Hood.
Watching Dragon Ball Super, Rob. Yes, I am. And the last episode looked like crap.
Yeah, everyone's complaining about that. I haven't watched it yet. 'Cause I don't have time to watch subtitle stuff. That's my issue.
Dude,
'Cause I
it
normally
looks
work
awful.
while watching.
Yeah, it looks really bad.
So I got a question for you, and this is an honest question about it. So the video I'm making is a rundown of everything that happened in Supergirl. After recording the audio and putting this video together, I discovered on the wiki that there's a lot of past announcements of characters that I didn't mention. So instead of re-recording the audio, I've put a text overlay, which is, this is the full list. We didn't mention older announcements. And I just did the full list of guys, and they're on the screen while I'm mentioning everyone. You think that'll work?
Well, I mean, do the old announcements tie into what's going on?
No, it's just we just went through the list of people who have been confirmed to show up on the show, like Livewire, Sam Lane, Nan, that kind of thing.
Well, I mean, if the video is based on who's showing up in the show, then that should work fine. Because the old list is, that's cool because it comes across with the old list saying like it's there if you care about it, but it doesn't matter right now. And if it's not, if it doesn't matter, then there's no point in.
As long as it's there, so I don't get called out with, "Oh, you forgot like 8 people." That's what I was kind of going for with that.
Yeah, okay. if you add some annotation like, these characters that were mentioned previously, but they're not going to be part of the show, then I think that would make a difference. But
well, it's not an annotation. I'm putting it as a text overlay in the video.
Okay. Yeah, then that should be fine.
So no matter what device you watch it on, it's there.
Oh, okay. Rob would find the DCU Dragon Balls and bring Yamcha back with him. Yamcha, whatever, man. I'd get Vegeta. I would get Vegeta. Like, is Frieza a girl? That's a good question.
This is actually a good question. After that, answer that one first. But I got this is a good
No,
one.
I don't know. I mean, I don't have an answer to that question. I mean, nobody knows. Like, Frieza's
Frieza
transgender.
is general neutral.
Yeah, gender neutral. There we go.
Someone asked if you're going to do Valiant, and I was actually going to ask, are you going to start dipping into other publishers? Because now that we have permission to them, or are you going to stick with Marvel and DC?
Yes, I want to dip into other publishers. The first thing I want to do is I want to answer the question. I want to talk about the community and The Walking Dead because that is, man, that story's so good. Plus, The Walking Dead comes back in October, so it'd be a really opportune time to talk about that.
Because I know you've made the comment before, like, oh, the other publishers don't do as well as my normal stuff, and that's something I run into too. But
Yeah,
I don't.
yeah.
I always look at it as we're here to educate.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I was thinking about that when I was doing the script for the DCU and the New 52. Is I was like, okay, how can I make this make sense without being overly convoluted, like without being overly nonsensical? Because I could go all the way back to the very beginning of everything. But the problem is, it would turn into this. It would get people confused and it would throw people off. So it's like, make that information reasonable, clear to understand. But make sure the important points are touched on. And I think that's kind of the kicker that transcends over to doing outside stuff. I mean, if I do anything that's not Marvel and Truth on my channel, like, it just won't do nearly as good as everything else. But that's because the audience doesn't exist for it. So the issue is making that audience come into existence. And
Yep.
so, making that, starting out with popular indie titles and then working from there, I think is the key. And I think that right now, when it comes to indie titles, The Walking Dead's about as popular as it gets. So,
Well, it's Walking Dead. Saga's pretty high up there.
yeah,
Scott Snyder's run is doing really well. Yeah, but yeah, Walking Dead's pretty much up there.
yeah. What is your prediction on the Battle World storyline? Ooh, my prediction on the Battle World storyline is,
But it won't matter. No.
well, I mean, it's really not going to. So here's what they established in Secret Wars Part 5. They established that that Molecule Man Owen Reese, Doctor Doom, and Doctor Strange each existed and served three essential purposes in Battle World. Molecule Man served as a conduit. When Doctor Doom and all those guys, when Doctor Doom, Molecule Man, and Doctor Strange, when they basically killed the Beyonders, when the Beyonders were killed off, the power of the Beyonders was too much for any one of them to simply consume within themselves. The power would literally kill them because it was just way too much. And so they took the power and they trapped it in this giant metal box. It was quite literally a giant metal box. Molecule Man serves as a conduit, so he's basically a vector by which Doom can access the Beyonder's power. Where Doctor Doom could access the power and impose his will on Battleworld, Doctor Strange was his eyes and ears. He heard everything and he saw everything and knew everything that was going on in Battleworld. But because Doctor Strange is dead, Doom doesn't have any eyes and ears, which means that people can subvert his authority now. It means he's not going to know what's going on. He's not going to know what's taking place because he's not all-knowing. And so what's going to end up happening is Battleworld's basically probably going to devolve into a state of civil war, and then Marvel's going to use that as a platform to launch the all-new, all-different Marvel by saying, well, Battleworld's been destroyed, and now we have Molecule Man as Galactus, and we have the Phoenix Force taking over somebody, and so on and so forth. And it's going to be a return to the status quo. It's just going to be different faces. That's a kicker, guys. This all-new, all-different Marvel universe is going to look very similar to the old universe. It's just going to have different faces. It's going to have different people playing different roles, and that's really it. Like, that's really going to be the difference. So
I'm curious if they're going to redo Origins. Like when DC did the New 52, they redid the Origins to go in line with what they've changed.
I don't know, man. Like, that's what I've been wondering. I don't think they will, to be honest, because I think if they were, they would have done it already.
Not necessarily, because think about it. I mean, the whole point of this is to make it an easier universe to understand. And the problem with most of these Origins, which is why I don't do a lot of Marvel Origins, is because they aren't just single one-off stories. They're 60 years of continuity you have to cram into it.
But the problem is, none of the stories that are going on right now matter.
Well, yeah,
Like,
but I'm saying when they relaunch, like DC did the great thing of putting out the books, and then they launched a separate comic called Secret Origins, where they actually revealed a lot of the origins that weren't
Yeah.
getting revealed.
well, plus they had like 0 month and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So
and that's the kind of thing I'm wondering. I'm wondering if as time goes on, are we going to get newer, fresher origins to these characters?
I mean, if Marvel were smart, they would do that. They would say like 0 month, and they would say this month after Secret Wars, this is all the origins for the characters you know and love, like all the mainstay characters, or they would just rehash the existing origins, because that would be the smart thing too. If they chose not to eliminate the continuity, if the history of Miles Morales going into all new, all different Marvel is a continuation from his origin in Ultimate Universe to the end of everything going into Secret Wars, picking up with all new, all different Marvel, then it'd be smart if they came back and said, here's the origin story of Miles Morales covered in a single comic from the time he first appeared in the Ultimate Universe up until the current moment. And that would be, or I guess his origin story in the Ultimate Universe, and then spend 2 pages covering the end of everything and all that kind of stuff. Like, that would be a smart idea because it would give people a place to start. So, yeah, I don't know.
Oh no, I agree with you. I do. I think it'd be awesome. Plus, it'd make our job so much easier. Here's
Yeah.
the new origin.
Here's a new origin. Dude, it'd be so easy to do.
Well, it's like, well, and here's a question I asked you. I tweeted this out last night, and I want to know what your opinion, because Marvel's been doing it a lot more, and DC's now gone in line with it. How do you feel about them doing shorter character-driven story arcs? Because honestly, it's making my job a freak ton easier. Instead of being 6 to 9 issue arcs, we're talking like 1 to 4 issue arcs.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about that? Like about them being shorter and a lot easier to just pick up a read and go?
Well, we talked about that during the podcast, and I love that idea. Like, I think it's a really cool idea because because you made a really good point. You were saying that like DC had been doing that for a long time, and it worked because like fans could say, well, I want to read Green Lantern. I don't care about Superman. I don't care about Batman or anything. I just want to read Green Lantern, and they could just pick up a Green Lantern comic, and they could read it. And they could start with a new story arc. They could go online and they could just say, oh, okay, well, this new story arc picks up here. And if they were curious, about what led into that story arc, they could look it up on Wikipedia, or they could come to our channels or something like that, and they could get that information and then jump right into the story. With Marvel, you can't do that. With Marvel, it was all about, well, we got Avengers versus X-Men. Well, what's the basis for Avengers versus X-Men? Well, it comes out of all this, and it comes out of all that. And if they pick up a Miles Morales comic and they see Galactus, where you have the event, what is it, not Ultimates, I can't remember what the name of the event was, but it was the Ultimate Universe when Galactus shows up, and they're all just like, oh my god,
Ultimate
what do we do?
No, it wasn't Ultimate End.
Yeah, that was.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, it's called something.
Yeah, but like they're gonna be like, well, I don't know, and they're like, well, how did Galactus get here? Well, that ties into Age of Ultron. Well, where did Age of Ultron come from? Well, it ties into this, and and so on and so forth. And it's this ongoing series of things. It just doesn't, you have to read one thing after another in order to make it all make sense. And it's like this big 10-year running series of stories, in order to follow what it is that one single character is doing. And that's the biggest, that's the bane of Marvel's existence right now, And so I think going with character-driven stories to say, like, if all you care about is Peter Parker, read this. If all you care about is Miles Morales, read this. If all you care about is a Punisher or Captain America or Tony Stark or something like that. That's why I think the Superior Iron Man did so well. Because if all you cared about was Iron Man and you wanted to see a comic book version of Iron Man from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, pick up Superior Iron Man, and that's all you had to read. You could literally start with Superior Iron Man #1 and go from there. It covered the event of Axis. It told you what happened in Axis, so you didn't even have to read Axis. You could just say, well, there's an inversion of personalities, and now he's a jerk. So I guess back to his old self, whatever the case may be. But that I think was a very important attribute. So I'm very much down with doing characters.
But how do you feel about them being shorter? That's my big question.
Oh, okay. No, I think that's better.
Well, no, okay, and the character-driven. I didn't stop you because that you brought up some very good points. But I'm just saying because it feels to me like story arcs in general are getting shorter and shorter and shorter. I just finished a bunch of the DCU storylines, and it was 2 to 3 issues long, and they were done.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Well, because you're talking about people's attention spans are inherently shorter now than they were before. If we were talking about 50 years ago or 30 years ago, I'd say, no, that's a really bad idea. Because people liked longer and more, complicated stories. And if you're talking about massive crossover events, then yeah, sure, they can be longer. But in truth, there's really no reason why, a character like the Punisher needs to have a 20 or 30 issue character story arc. It just doesn't need to happen. Because it's long, it draws out, it takes too long, and that's the problem that people feel. People go through and they read these stories and they're just like, God, they're just dragging on and dragging on and dragging on, and it feels like 90% of the stories, like 90% of that story, is just filler stuff. So I think that doing like 2 to 3 issue stories is a much better decision. It interests me a whole lot more. And plus,
I like them better, and that makes our jobs easier. It's a lot easier to tell a story when it's 2 to 3 issues long, especially when we tell a 2 to 3 issue story, and then it's a lot easier to get people into the stories now because the arc is done. Hey, go check out the next one.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with that.
Someone's been asking over and over and over. I guess they liked my Professor X video, but didn't know his history, and they want to know what you think about the idea of making a Professor X solo comic.
Making a Professor X solo comic.
Well, like his old history when he was an adventurer.
Yeah. I guess you could, but it doesn't. It doesn't really matter. It's Okay, guys. I haven't seen your Professor X video, so I'm not sure what all you covered, but here's literally the story of Professor X. All right, Professor X's dad worked alongside a guy, and Professor X's dad died in the experiment, and I think it turned out that the guy actually killed his dad on purpose. But
Yeah.
nonetheless, like this guy marries Professor X's mom, brings along Kane Marco. Kane Marco's a dick to Professor X, and this guy loves Professor X, but only because he wants to stay on good terms with his mom. Professor X's mom dies. This guy inherits everything and all that kind of good stuff, and then he dies. Professor X inherits everything. Professor X, develops powers over the course of this time frame. He goes on to meet, oh God, what was that guy's name?
So far, you're really spot on for an off the cuff, off your head thing.
Yeah,
Especially since you didn't watch my video.
he goes on to meet Al, like Farouk, some I can't remember what his name is, but he's basically the Shadow King, and like they fight each other, and then like they have a mental fight, with one another, and he's like, oh my God, this guy's dangerous. I better form a team that can like keep the planet safe from dangerous mutants, and he makes the X-Men, and that's the life of Professor Xavier.
No, you skipped a whole bunch of stuff in the middle.
Like what? Where he meets Magneto.
No,
I
when he
mean,
meets Magneto, goes on a bunch of adventures. He scours the globe looking for mutants before realizing he wants to build a team.
yeah, but see the problem
It
that I have.
depends on which version of the story you're looking at. Because if you go old enough, it's like, oh, he was a crazy adventurer.
Yeah, okay. I would say this. It depends on how they do it. I think that something like that would make a better film than it would a comic book, but it'd be intriguing. The problem is we know about everybody. Like we know their stories now. If we didn't know who they were, if we didn't know their backstories, it would make sense. If we didn't know the origin story of Storm, it would make sense. If we didn't know the origin story of Banshee, if we didn't know the origin story of Rogue and Jubilee and Cyclops and Jean Grey and all that kind of stuff, then it would make sense. But the problem is
I'm done. All right, keep going.
but the problem is we know those stories. And so it really wouldn't I wouldn't buy it, to be honest. I
Do you
mean,
read manga other than DBZ? I don't think you even read
no.
DBZ.
No, I don't read the DBZ manga. I just watch the TV show.
I say you don't read any mangas, do you?
No, not really.
In
I
our
mean,
defense, we already read a lot of comics. Like, I bought yesterday. I went out and I bought 6 different mangas to read on my trip, and I'm like, I hope I have time to actually read all of this. Because also on my trip was like 20 trade paperbacks for DC and Marvel.
yeah. Uh, with Nintendo entering the theme park business, which game series would you like to see come to life? Kirby. I would love to
Kirby's
see
just
it.
gonna be a restaurant. I can tell you that right
Dude,
now.
no, Kirby needs to be like a big bouncy machine. Like it would be so amazing. Like I would, dude. They need to have like a Kirby themed ride in some capacity. Like I'd be so down to see that. I don't care what it is, but I'd be down to see it. Like, White Ranger or Green Ranger? I know it's Tommy, but which do you prefer? Green Ranger? Psh, White Ranger, nothing, dude. Green Ranger's when Green Ranger first showed up, he single-handedly demolished all of the Power Rangers by himself. Just him
Yeah.
demolished
Well,
every
he
last
also
one
had
of
a
them.
giant dragon zord, but that's besides.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Like it was pretty solid.
I can't believe I got this whole video done while chatting with you.
Who is smarter, Brainiac or the Kree Supreme Intelligence? Ooh,
Oh, wait, I gotta check that audio.
that is a tough one.
I'm gonna mute you for a second, so I can't hear you.
Yeah, it's fine. Brainiac or the Kree Supreme Intelligence? Jesus. Um, because see, the Kree Supreme Intelligence has the entire like, man, I don't know. I would say Brainiac. I think Brainiac's more intelligent, and here's the reason why. The Kree Supreme Intelligence, which for those of you guys who don't know, the Kree Supreme Intelligence is like the ultimate
Act.
authority in the Kree Empire itself. And the Kree Supreme Intelligence is composed of the brains of every Kree that's ever existed. The problem is that their experiences, like the intelligence of the Supreme Intelligence, is confined to the experiences of those Kree. And so, if those Kree only existed within their own continuity or within their own place, if they never branched out into other worlds or anything like that, then it's going to limit the capacity of the Supreme Intelligence. Now, it doesn't, and the Supreme Intelligence is super smart. But I think that on a whole, Brainiac is far more intelligent and far more capable. Because I think Brainiac's intelligent on like a multiversal level, isn't he? Or something like that. I guess what passes for a multiversal level in
Depends on
DC.
which version, because there's so many different versions of them. There is one that's multiversal. There's one that's just local. It depends on which one you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know.
And that's the problem with Brainiac. Like, there's been some that are simple. There's been some that can see and peer into the multiverse. There's been some that's been a computer. Some that's been a being.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's one thing I hate about Brainiac is like they just alter him. Oh, it'd be cool if he was this way now.
That is true. Let's see.
The most accepted version is the one from the TV show, though. The one that took over Lex Luthor's body.
That was a cool version. That one was pretty solid. But people grew up with that version, so it makes sense that people would
That's what
accept
I mean.
it more.
That's why it's most accepted.
Yeah. What do you dislike about the MCU? Ooh, what do I dislike about? Okay, let's start with you. What do you dislike about the MCU, Benny?
The TV shows. I feel like the TV shows have a lot more potential if they didn't have to wait for stuff to happen in the movies. And I feel like it's holding them back. Because I don't know,
Yeah.
Agents of Shield has a lot of filler episodes just to make it tie into Civil War and tie into the fall of Shield and all that crap.
See, I agree with that. I think that them. See, I agree. The problem is this, the Inhumans theme was a really cool theme going with the show. The problem is that by the time Age of Ultron came around, they couldn't ignore it. They couldn't just be like, well, Age of Ultron's going on, we're not worried about that.
Exactly.
We're not worried about a robot wiping, like trying to kill everybody on the world. So they couldn't just ignore it and keep going with the Inhumans. It wouldn't make any sense. And so they had to stop it, and then of course the next season is going to follow up with it. So I think that is kind of a restraint.
That's why I personally like the DC TV shows more, and why I agree with them saying, "Oh, they're going to be separate continuities," because that means the DC shows can do whatever the hell they want. If the Flash wants to jump through time and go mess with the world, that doesn't affect the movies.
See, that is a good point, but I prefer Marvel because I think that it makes a more cohesive thing. Everything ties into everything else, and I like that. I mean, it has its restrictions, but I think the fact that everything ties into everything else. Having said that,
I think having them both is the great thing because I do like having it all tie in. I think it hinders the show, but having Marvel do that and then having DC do a different thing allows you to appreciate what DC is able to do, and at the same time appreciate tying the show into this overarching thing and feeling cool because you watched everything and know it all.
that's true. That is a good point. I would say that when it comes to the MCU, one of the things that I don't like is that things feel so isolated. I mean, it is cohesive, but it's isolated at the same time. There's Earthbound stuff, and then there's space stuff. And we know that Thanos is in the background. We know he's gathering the Infinity Stones, and the Infinity Stones have been featured in both Guardians of the Galaxy and Avengers and other films and stuff like that. But at the same time, it doesn't feel connected. Like it feels, as opposed to like two hands, like intertwined. It feels like fingers touching, and it just like it's a loose connection, and it just doesn't quite feel as cohesive as it could. Now, Infinity War will fix that, and it'll bring everything together. It'll have the Avengers, it'll have the Guardians of the Galaxy, and all that kind of stuff fighting Thanos. But until that point, it just doesn't feel connected at all. And it's cool seeing stuff cross over. It's cool seeing people mentioned, But I think that's one of the reasons.
Let me ask you this: we all love Daredevil. I mean, I know it took forever to finally watch it all, but we all love Daredevil, right?
Uh-huh.
Daredevil didn't tie into crap; it did Easter eggs.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, that was the problem with Daredevil, is Daredevil was a story where it featured a guy that we know is in the MCU, and we know nothing, like, we see nothing else tying it in. It's literally posters and newspaper clippings, and that's it.
Yeah, but that's what was awesome about it.
See, I disagree. Like, I think it would have been cool if, I mean, we wouldn't necessarily have to see characters, but if they had, well, they didn't have any footage of the Avengers fighting in New York, did they? So it'd have been different if they had that. If, like, on the background TV, or something like that, there was there was somebody looking through old footage and they were watching the Avengers fighting in New York. That, I think, like, that right there, it could have been a 10-second thing or a 5-second thing for that matter. And I think it would have made it more cohesive. But right now it feels so isolated that it doesn't even feel like it's part of the MCU. We know it is, it just doesn't feel like it is. And that I think is kind of the rough patch. But, I mean, it's one of those weird things, I guess.
No, Rob, I don't know. Explain it.
How much of it? Like how can? My God, man, you sound like one of the hardcore fans of my channel. Like, Rob, I really would have liked it if you'd have gone more in depth into this hour-long video.
I,
Really?
I miss the hour-long videos, Rob. Even though
Like,
they take forever and you can't produce them in a quick manner. I really miss the hour-long videos, Rob.
yeah, like me and three other people really miss these videos. So you need to go back and make it those. Like,
For the
ignore the
record,
other
I'm actually
300,000.
gonna because I'm doing that the Q&A vlog thing now on every Tuesday where I answer three big questions,
Hmm.
and I'm going to address the fact that my videos have been getting shorter. It has nothing to do with me, and I know you're running into the same issue. It's because a lot of the newer characters don't have a lot of information, or the story arcs are shorter.
Yeah, and that's it. That's all there is to it. Rob, if you could have the why are you guys obsessed with the Power Rangers? Oh, powers. Okay, if you could have the powers and abilities of any of the original seven Justice League
How did
members,
you mess that up?
who would you choose? I just saw powers and I thought they said Power Rangers. Wow, if I could have the powers of any of the original Justice League, so you're talking about Golden Age, like old school Justice League. Well, okay, are you talking about Justice Society or are you talking about Justice League? Because Justice League was Silver Age, Justice Society was Golden Age. Of the seven original members of the Justice League, probably
Hey
Hal
Rob, how do
Jordan.
you feel about Linkara?
Who's Linkara?
See, I knew you were going to say that.
Why don't I read the chat? What do you think I'm doing? You think I'm just making up questions off the top of my head and then answering them?
Man, you're really good at that.
I'm really good.
You're
that,
off the
that
cuff.
that person has no idea what's going on. Next season will be
Maybe he
Secret
thinks this
Wars.
isn't
Yes, it
live,
will.
and he's one of those guys that shows up later and is like, why is Rob not answering?
Yeah, he thinks it's not live. Yeah, like it's funny because I'll see that from time to time. Like somebody will post a comment, like the video will it'll go live on YouTube. Like it'll upload when it's done, and somebody will be like, "Is it still going on?" It's like, "Yes, it's still going on." Just
That's why I always post them unconcluded, and they still ask that question.
yeah.
I'll change the title to concluded, and they'll still say that.
Like, why is he not answering my questions? Like, because it's not happening anymore. Like, because it's done. Let's see. Is it comfortable to have that strap on your head? It's not a strap. It's the headphones.
Well,
It's
I can see that.
it's the shape of the headphones. Let's see. Are they redoing Blade on Netflix? I don't think so. What happened to Secret Wars? Secret Wars is a monthly series, guys. It comes out once a month.
No, it's not. You realize they messed that up, right?
Well, okay. It was supposed to come out
The
once a
problem though
month.
everyone's asking is because it came one, two, three back to back, and then they delayed it for a month. It came out four, delayed it five.
Yeah, that's true. I agree with it. Yeah, the next one comes out in 3 weeks, I think. So, if you were to be any superhero, either Marvel or DC, who would you be? Ooh. Marvel or DC?
Spider-Man.
No, Spider-Man sucks. My God, man. Madness. This is madness.
What's wrong with you, Rob? You can't state that.
Yeah, like half the chat's gonna leave now.
Wow, you really did. You dropped in half the numbers. No.
Oh my God. What happened? We dropped to 200 people.
Linkara on the weekly poll. We could try to see that happening. For the record, Linkara is. Do you know the guy with the glasses, Nostalgia Critic?
No.
He's pretty much like the angry video game nerd from that era of YouTube.
Oh,
He
okay.
built a conglomerative of like tons of reviewers for various things. Like Angry Joe is his video game reviewer originally. Now Angry Joe does his own thing.
Oh, okay.
But Linkara is technically their comic reviewer.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But
If I could,
he reviews some of the worst comics in existence. That's his joke. Like but he'll pull up some things from like 1970s and crap. Like what?
oh,
Where did
okay.
you find that?
Um, if I could be any character from Marvel or DC, any superhero, I would be Kyle Rayner, and here's why:
Because he becomes Space Jesus.
because it becomes Space Jesus. Done and done.
Isn't that a good enough reason?
He becomes Space Jesus. I am gonna make a video
About Space
about
Jesus?
Kyle Rayner. I'm gonna call it Kyle Rayner / Space Jesus.
If you don't believe me, read his Futures End of it.
Yeah,
He
and
has
his-
a full beard, and he is Space Jesus, and he is worshipped by a planet, and he passes on the white ring while sacrificing his life. Oh, he's Space Jesus.
Yeah, Space Jesus. Space Jesus, Kyle Rayner.
Hey, you know
Let's
what?
see.
I'm going to ask your audience link because I need to know. So they want me to do Witchblade. They want me to do Spawn. And I'm sure they want you to too. But in order for us to do that, where is Al Simmons' new origin? When did he come back? Because that's where I'm going to start if I do it.
Yeah, that is a good place to start. People would be like, Rob, you
Everyone's like,
should.
do Spawn. Guys, I don't know about Rob, but I'm not doing 200 issues of Spawn.
No, I'm not. Hell no. You're out of your mind. You think it's gonna happen?
That's what I mean.
Tyrone Magnus on the wiki pool. Hello, Magnusites. Let's see. Rob, do you watch fan films on YouTube? Black Panther Unleashed is great. Yes, actually, there was a really good one for the Century. It was a really cool fan film. But yeah, I watch those occasionally. There was actually a fan film that was made, I think, about Spider-Man, where he's approached by Shield, and that was a really cool video. It was only like 10 minutes long, but it was really interesting. Let's see.
You're gonna have to bring it back every week now, Rob.
Do what now?
You have to call me every week this early in the morning.
Yay! Do you think Polaris will make it into the MCU in any way? She seems to be the only one missing from Magneto's kids.
No.
No. Polaris doesn't matter enough. She's not important enough.
Sorry for interrupting. I know it's your stream. I'm trying to avoid doing that this time. We're here. If you watch me on Tuesday, all I do is interrupt you. But
Yeah. If you guys watch this on the weekly poll on Tuesday,
I want to ask you this opinion on this, because after seeing what they've done with Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch and where they're going with them, I honestly feel like that was literally just Marvel putting a stab at Fox. Like, I don't think they did it with we got to see what's going on, you know?
Oh, by just saying like they're Inhumans and they're not the kids of Magneto?
Just putting him in the movie and then just removing him, basically.
Well, they didn't remove him. I mean, the Scarlet Witch is coming back as a new Avenger, but Quicksilver, yeah they could have done without Quicksilver.
How important is she, you know?
Yeah, that's true. Man, that's a good question.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past with how petty the rivalries have gotten between all these companies owning Marvel's characters.
Yeah.
Disney really being like, just put them in there. We can do it. Do it. I don't freaking care.
I would say that, yeah. I mean, it might be a stab at Fox, but I mean, Fox needs no help in stabbing themselves. So, but no, I mean, it's yeah. Because here's the kicker: they could have kept Quicksilver alive. They didn't need to kill him. In fact, him dying was really one of the silliest and most unexplained things in the film. Like, how can a guy that moves that fast die by bullets? You know, and they were like, well, he jumped up. It's like the guy can move super fast. You're telling me that he couldn't run, you know, push Robert Downey Jr. or whoever, you know, push him to safety in front of the vehicle and then get out of the way before the bullets hit him? Like, no way, you know.
Not even that. They pretty much established that they pretty much let Fox have a more powerful version of Quicksilver.
Yeah. Because he's stupid powerful in Days of Future Past. Yeah. He's really fast. Like, it's nuts how fast he is. And he's actually, the Days of Future Past was actually accurate in terms of his speed, at least in terms of how they depicted it. With Avengers 2 Age of Ultron, he was actually seems slower than he was supposed to be, which is one of the big drawbacks that I had. I was like, he's moving kind of slow, you know, but nonetheless, no, I would say that that's probably a stab at Fox to, like, introduce a character and then kill him off, you know, but no, I don't know. I mean, it's weird. But anyway, guys, we've been cranking at this for like an hour. So
I was about to ask you, how long do you do this for? Because I got to get going soon.
It's about an hour and 15 minutes. Yeah, so I'm going to bounce off here, guys. But say thank you, everybody, to Benny for coming in and saying, what's up?
What's up, guys?